Here in Uman, it's only 7 a.m. And they say it's empty compared to the way it's gonna be.
The excitement began to build, even in the airport in Paris. We gathered a few people literally from around the world to make a minyan, a quorum of 10 men for afternoon prayers. And the reason you need that quorum, you need that minyan, is so that this one guy in the baseball cap could say Kaddish, could say the prayer of the mourner for someone he had lost.
The whole airport stopped. Everybody, Jews and non-Jews, looked at you, and it seems like it called a yearning for all of them to return to God.
During the drive from the airport in Kiev to Uman, there was a pop-up falafel restaurant, and all the taxis and buses going from Kiev airport to Uman were stopping there, and this is 3 a.m., and there's a crowd of people getting falafel on the road to Uman.
All right, so we're pulling in. It's 5 a.m. We're in heavy pedestrian traffic. Look how many people are outside at 5 a.m. Can you feel the excitement building? You're about to come near the final resting place of Rebbe Nechman. The man is a true tzaddik, a righteous individual that comes only along once in many generations. I gotta tell you, as we approach now, the electricity is building in my body. Here we go. So the idea here is first you come and you see the tzaddik. Then you give tzedakah. There's plenty of people here who need tzedakah, charity. So you give in honor of the Rebbe and of the people in your life that you want to bless. You give some charity in their honor. Tzedakah? Okay. God bless you. And then once you give in charity, you approach the righteous person. And Rebbe Nechman's grave, it's like a rush of light. That's what it felt like. Pure, there's a pureness and a joy to it. My prayer here just shot through me. Please, God, strengthen me and purify me to be a clean conduit for your light. And I ask to be a clean conduit that light can flow through me and reach everyone out there. You're seeing about 1/500th of the people who are here in Uman. They keep coming. They'll be passing through here all day long. The street outside will get more and more crowded as we approach Rosh Hashanah. The conduit is always open between us and God. But we're not always open to it. This is about opening yourself and pouring out your heart. Now we've left the kever through the back entrance. We'll show you a little bit of the town. The sights of Uman.
Marx said, religion is the opiate of the masses, and he meant that in the most condescending way. that the masses or the dummies, that only the dummies would be taken in by religion, by faith. But you walk around Uman and you see immediately that the people who are here are brilliant. People with a huge sechel, people with a huge intellect, who've come to the conclusion that God made the world, God runs the world, and this is an opportunity to connect.
And this is the other free Starbucks for all, sponsored by one gentleman who makes it his act of giving to make sure that everyone who gets to Uman, even if they don't have $1 left, will not be hungry. If you come here with no money, you can eat.
One amazing aspect of Uman was created by a gentleman named Mr. Shiner. He's very successful, but didn't have children. And he and his wife had tried everything and gone to every specialist, and nothing worked. And somebody suggested to him, go say a prayer at the grave of Rebbe Nechman. Maybe you'll get a blessing there. And so he went to Uman, he made that prayer, and he made a deal with the Rebbe. He said, if I am blessed with children, I'll make sure that nobody who comes here to Uman goes hungry. And so he and his wife were blessed with a child that year. He took the deal quite seriously, and I heard the first year he came with like 6 suitcases of frozen food, and then from there it grew. So he sets up this huge soup kitchen essentially, but he doesn't feed them, just soup and a little piece of bread. He gives them a full meal. People who are receiving free food from Mr. Shiner are receiving it in a dignified manner. And at every meal, they're serving 10,000 meals or more. And it has grown, sometimes 20,000, sometimes 30,000 in a single meal. And so you'll get a sense of how this operation works.
One of the reasons this tour is so important, I think we have to remember, Rebbe Nechman what made him a Rebbe was that a true tzaddik, a tzaddik emet, appeals to all different types of people. We have to be open-hearted. Breslovs are open-hearted people. Rebbe Nechman spent a good part of his day actually working with the Jewish community here, which was predominantly a secular Jewish community. He spent time, believe it or not, playing chess with them. He talked about modern literature with them. They were shocked. He could speak Shakespeare with them. He could speak Greek literature with them. He was really a master of all subjects. He appealed to a wide spectrum of people. Rebbe Nechman, as you know, was a big Zionist. He said, everything is Israel. He got to Israel, he stood 1 foot on shore, and he said, okay, let's go back. His gabbai who was with him said, Rebbe, it's taken us like months to get here, one day.
You didn't make it to the Kotel?
He didn't go. He didn't want to go to Jerusalem. He wanted to get back as quickly as he could. At that time in the Ukraine, think about the condition of the Jewish community. It was a condition of oppression and of poverty. And so they often refer to Rebbe Nechman as the psychologist of the soul. So he would talk about singing or dancing or clapping as a means of shifting people from a depressive state to a happy state. So the concept of singing and dancing was not only connective, it not only connected us, it was therapeutic to the soul. Rebbe Nechman had a great follower. He was a secular Jew who became religious. So he lived in this house, he owned the house. This foundation is the area of the original foundation. He was brought here right after Yom Kippur. He was very ill, as I mentioned before. At that point, people said he was very, very calm. They talk about how Rebbe Nechman had a piece of wax and was moving the wax back and forth in his hands, sort of in a meditative way. And then he put the wax down. He asked to be moved to his chair. They moved him to his special chair. He gave a lesson. He gave a lesson, interestingly enough, and suddenly he started to again cough up blood. And they asked him what to do. The blood was in his beard. He said at that point, he looked at their faces, as I said earlier. He said, "Don't be frightened. Don't be frightened." He said, "I'm not frightened to die." He says, "I'll do more for you in the next world than I could in this world. He alluded actually to the Baal Shem Tov said this, and at that point the Chassids became very frightened because the Baal Shem Tov said those exact words when he left this world. He said, I can do more for you in the next world than I'll be able to do for you here. He lost consciousness for a bit. He woke up again. He spoke to Reb Noson for a few moments, and then he returned his Holy Spirit to Kadosh Baruch Hu.
Baal Shem Tov, he lived in the 1700s. He was truly a gifted and once in a millennia type of person. And so he taught that while the essence of being Jewish is Torah study, is connecting to God through his Torah, that's not the only path, and that's not a complete path. You need to study in order to understand God, but God isn't only available to the most scholarly people. What it really takes to connect with God is to reach for God, to want God's presence, to celebrate God's presence. But we often live our lives, we're so busy and we don't tune into God. And you can do that whether you're the most learned Talmudic scholar or a simple farmer who steps out into his field, looks around him and says, all of this is a gift from the Creator, the Master of the world, for me and my family and my children. And I celebrate him, and I celebrate this day, and I celebrate life, and that sense of joy. And Hasidic Judaism is very much about doing the work that it takes to feel that joy. Joy is a choice. Everyone is going to have pain in their lives, sometimes terrible pain. And so no one is saying that suffering isn't real or that it's to be ignored. But when you have faith that all of this has been arranged for a reason, that it all has meaning, and that every individual, walking around on earth is a physical and temporary expression of an eternal soul, when you have that faith, then okay, no matter what happens in this world, my soul is eternal. When I leave here, I'm going to reconnect with the Holy One. And while I'm here, I'm going to celebrate. I'm going to learn as much as I can. So that's the basic foundational philosophy of Hasidism. It's available to everybody. It has to be done with joy. And that a Judaism, which is just about learning and following laws, but which leaves you unmoved, is not a good Judaism.
Hello, my brothers and sisters. Uman! Incredible. I'm in an incredible place. Gathering for Rosh Hashanah. A place where Rebbe Nechman passed from this world. His soul is a palpable presence here. They call him Rabbeinu. Our rabbi, our Rebbe, our teacher. Rosh Hashanah is a time come before the Holy One, the King of Kings, the Eternal. And we think about our relationship with the Holy One. That is what Rosh Hashanah is about. Who is sovereign in our lives, not Hashem.
This tiny, sleepy little town of Uman, Ukraine, for 1 week a year, it just is transformed. Throughout Uman and throughout Rosh Hashanah, people are singing constantly. They're singing in small groups and huge groups. And in every group, there's individual energy and collective energy. And so there are times when all of the people singing the song synchronize a little more, and you get peak moments. Time of great joy because we know that God is compassionate and that everything that is decreed for us is for our good. And it's comprehensible because our lives are temporary physical expressions of an eternal soul. So we have faith that no matter what happens here, it's for the best. We'll understand it when we're in the next world. But this period, Rosh Hashanah, it's a time when that veil between this world and the next is a little bit thinner, and everyone can sense the holiness, and there's an unbounded love and unity and togetherness that you feel with all these other Jews when we get together.